All in Sports Network. We love sports.
It is Wednesday, April 16th, right here on your Daily Fix for all things Texas Longhorns. I'm Tanner Carlson. That is Jake Jimerson. This is brought to you by Rogue Sports Network, and this is All In Horns. We have as we are recording this, the Texas Longhorns are currently up 11-4 in the bottom of the eighth, I believe, top of the eighth, against Rio Grande Valley. See, I didn't screw it up this time as they were playing. Yes, thank you. In a revenge game from last season's total debacle of falling short to Rio Grande Valley, Texas taking care of business tonight. Went up big early in this one. They've kind of been holding serve ever since. Scored 3 runs in the first inning, multiple in the second, built up a good solid lead. I think it was 9-0 through 3 innings, something along those lines. And so had their opening pitcher. Again, I'm not going to know any of their players' names. I don't care enough to actually look it up, but their first pitcher came out in the bottom of the first inning, had 35 pitches pitched and 3 runs earned for Texas. That is a recipe for success against a team with less depth than Texas does. And that is how you close out immediately, straight from the jump. Get the pitchers with high pitch counts. Second pitcher comes in and about midway through the second inning, he puts up a 30-inning pitch inning as well. And so just right through it, you're 3 pitchers into their lineup through 3 innings. And then Texas could basically just close the door on them.
Yeah, finally tightening down on these last couple Tuesday games after the losses to UTSA, who that loss didn't bother me as much. The Texas State loss was frustrating, but then clamping down on lesser teams the last couple of weeks. Though Rio Grande is really not a terrible team this year. They won by 10 runs against Dallas Baptist, who's pretty solid. They took down OU this year. I believe they're still ranked. And then they've been competitive against other teams who are currently ranked. So really not a bad baseball team, and Texas handling them.
Didn't realize that their head coach was a Schloss branch. He's worked with Schloss in the past before, and they ended up hiring him whenever they were, I think they were in a smaller conference, and then they moved recently, I think this year, to the WAC, and they've kind of fit more into the WAC conference. But yeah, it was interesting listening to the broadcast and kind of the history that the coaching staffs have with one another and the similar recruiting area that these two teams kind of recruit from, with South Lake Carroll kind of being in the backyard of Texas, and some Rio Grande Valley kids, kind of a homecoming, if you will. In fact, I want to say, Jake, I think it was, I need to look at the rosters real quick, but there's a twin of one of the Texas players on Rio Grande Valley. Do you know it off the top of your head?
No. I haven't watched as much as this game as you this evening.
Is Galvan. Galvan's twin or younger brother is
that's right.
Is on the roster. So so that was kind of cool, and a nice moment for the families all to sit in one stadium on a Tuesday night and watch the kiddos play and go up against one another. His brother's an outfielder, center fielder, and Galvan obviously behind home plate. But still, again, Texas kind of closed out, did what they're supposed to do. Game's technically not over yet, but it's over.
Barring any disasters, which would make us look really stupid to the point we might re-record. So maybe this recording will never see the light of day, but hopefully that does, or you'll just see us melt down live on camera, which
I think that would probably do better for the views, to be honest with you.
Yes, it would. But definitely, we all of a sudden, all the UT Rio Grande Valley fans, that all 20 of them would be in our comment section.
Our numbers would at least double from our last video for sure. But Jake, in terms of baseball, just some house cleaning, scheduling wise for us. The baseball team has moved their series up. Obviously, it's Easter weekend. They won't be playing on Sunday, but they will be playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday against Auburn, number 8 team in the country. And so that series will kick off a day earlier than it normally would. Same thing with softball. Both softball and baseball both open up on a Thursday game instead of a Saturday game. So what Jake and I are going to do, instead of we're gonna knock out these recordings. It's Easter weekend. It's a holiday. We're off on Friday. We probably won't have a live reaction or a reaction to the Thursday night game. We'll have our continued schedule that we have been. And come Monday, we'll give you a recap of the entire series as a whole instead of doing one, taking a 2-day break and doing all those types of things. And so anyway, just kind of wanted to let the listeners know kind of what the plan is for that.
Yeah, I have family coming in town. You have family who just lives in town. Must be nice. And so it doesn't,
it's not bad.
Doesn't make sense to do live reaction, but I'm sure our live reaction videos will start to grow more as we start to come to the conclusion of softball and baseball.
I feel like baseball and softball, well, especially baseball, is very much like basketball, where for your casual viewer, your casual college sports fan, they're not going to start watching until the postseason tournaments, SEC
conference tournament,
and then obviously
which SEC tournament's going to be a lot of fun. Just in general, because it's just going to be all heavyweight matchups.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and take a look. In terms of going into the Auburn series, Texas sitting atop the SEC standings, 29-5, or excuse me, they'll be 30-5 overall. They'll going in 13-2, only 2 losses in SEC play. Auburn is flirting with the upper to the middle of the pack at 9-6 in conference play, 26-10, but still ranked number 8 in the country. And they're sitting about, I think, 8th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th in the SEC.
This is why at the start of the year, I was like, Texas will probably be a middle of the pack SEC team, hopefully in that middle of the pack versus on the back half of the middle of the pack, which means they'll be a top 25 team. I believe that's exactly what we said in kind of our preview. Obviously, we didn't expect them to be the number 1 team in the nation, well over halfway through this SEC schedule, right around halfway through. Just goes to show you the success that has been had, but series are going to just continue to get tougher.
Now, Texas hasn't played Arkansas, hasn't played Tennessee. Those are the 2 and number 3 teams. Have played Georgia and LSU. Auburn will be kind of that next team below Georgia and LSU that in terms of strength of schedule on Texas's remaining schedule, except for we will then play Arkansas in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Auburn has taken down LSU. I believe they swept LSU, but they did get swept by Georgia, and then they are on a 5-game win streak going into this. That
kind of makes me feel better. It makes me feel better that they're on a win streak and not a losing streak.
Yeah, you don't want to catch a good team who's on a losing streak because typically those losses come to a stop.
Right.
And they're not only on a win streak, but it's all ranked teams. They beat number 15 Bama, number 14 Georgia Tech, and then a 3-game sweep at number 9 LSU. So this Auburn team is rolling, and especially on the mound with their pitching.
Yeah, and we'll get into a deeper dive of a preview episode. Coming on, I believe it's Thursday is what we've got planned for a deeper dive into the series.
I kind of had it. Yeah,
maybe Friday.
We'll probably swap it. Because whenever I wrote out our
we've got a schedule
line, I was thinking Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I just get used to that.
Preview it. We'll preview the series on tomorrow's episode, and we'll dive deeper into kind of the matchup between Texas and Auburn starting up tomorrow. Anyway, Jake, let's go ahead and move to other news in the Texas sports world. On the gridiron, Stanford transfer freshman wide receiver Emmett Mosley, the 5th, has committed to the University of Texas. 6'2", 190-pound wide receiver. Had a good freshman year. Has 3 years of eligibility left to play. 48 receptions, 525 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And it couldn't have come at a better time in terms of what Jake and I were talking about, the transfer portal, in terms of saying, I think Texas is going to probably add a wide receiver, maybe a defensive lineman, and then boom, not even 24 hours later, they get a wide receiver in the portal.
Yeah, in one of, if not maybe 2. I wouldn't be surprised with the spring portal opening today I wouldn't be surprised if Texas adds another one. This is a really good addition. I think he's going to contribute. He's going to at least be competing to contribute right away from the slot, and kind of a comparison I've seen thrown out there for him, maybe not necessarily in body type, but in what type of role he will bring to this Texas team, is a Jordan Whittington. He's willing to do a lot of and I've watched his tape and I see it. He's a little bit smaller in frame, but he's willing to do a lot of the dirty stuff that you're not going to see.
I think he'll bulk up. I think,
he's going to bulk up, but Whittington was
high school body.
Yeah. So he'll bulk up, but from what I've seen from film and people that are smarter than me talking about it, good route runner, really good at contested catches. So just kind of perfect for that slot position. I don't think he'll go outside at all. He'll stay within that slot. Be really good when Texas decides to spread it out. He'll be a very good weapon for them. Also a good blocker, which is really big in this system. No block, no play as the Texas wide receiver.
No rock.
Yep, no block, no rock. There we go. That's the exact one.
Yeah.
And so a really good addition. He was the top wide receiver left in the portal, and kind of will take a little stress off of having to find someone from this spring portal. Because I believe he was a late entrance. I think he was a late entrance too, because Stanford fired their coach really late.
Yeah,
they did something weird, and so. Really good addition. And like you said, 3 years of eligibility left. That's a key there. When you get a guy that's already proved that he can produce, at the D1 level, at the power conference level, and you can get him with 3 years of eligibility left. Those are typically the transfers who are hardest to get.
Yeah, he also had a career game against Louisville. If you want to look it up on YouTube, they've got the game highlights for him. Well, they've just got the game film. You can just watch every offensive play for Stanford. And Stanford was putrid this year. And he was really the only one keeping them in a game against a team who was head and shoulders better than them, and a Louisville team who was ranked the majority of the season. He had 3 touchdowns. I think he had 8 to 9 catches, over 100 yards receiving. And he was the main threat as a freshman coming out of the slot for that Stanford team, who again otherwise was utterly putrid this year on the football field. So whenever a player like that can kind of stand out on a really bad football team, to me that always kind of is like he's got something a little bit more to offer than maybe even his full season stats, because quarterback play, things like that, affected probably his overall contribution, his production for his first year.
And especially as a freshman. I mean, 525 yards as a freshman when you're not playing playoff games, when you're not playing, I don't even think bowl games.
They won like 2 games this year. Yeah, they were.
Yeah, they were terrible. I mean, that's more yardage than Ryan Wingo had last year.
Mm-hmm.
And Wingo, I know he didn't light the world on fire, but everyone has been really excited about Wingo because of his play last year. And obviously Wingo wasn't going to get the volume necessarily that he got just with the amount of wide receiver depth Texas had. But just to give you an idea, he did have more yards than Wingo. He played more games. And that's not saying he's better than Wingo. It's just saying from a production standpoint, he was very productive, and as a freshman, and on a really bad football team, which gives me pretty big hopes for what he can do for this team, because I do think they needed to add at least one wide receiver, and I think this is the perfect role of a receiver they could have found, because I don't think they need an outside wide receiver. I think they needed some more slot type receivers.
I 100% agree with you. Arch Manning in an interview. This comes. The news kind of dropped, or the SEC posted this, Texas posted this after the news of the Nico Emiliava. I'm Olivia transfer from Tennessee. Essentially, in an interview, Arch Manning says, "There's nowhere else I want to be. I want to be the quarterback at the University of Texas. Sometimes it's worth the wait." Mentions he's got friends, he's got a good life, and Austin feels like home. And so, getting that statement, getting that quote from Arch after 2 particular fan bases would have bet their life savings that he was going to transfer first.
Every fan base was swearing upon
every national media member was saying that he was going to transfer. He looks like he's going to be in Austin for the long haul.
Yeah, and now everyone's, well, like I said last week. Everyone will say he's gone after this year. Then they'll be like, whoa, he's staying? Texas must be paying him a fortune. And really, he is making a fortune, but it's from NIL deals that aren't even, they're just big brands that want him because he's a Manning.
Yeah.
He would make that anywhere. But yeah,
Lamborghini.
I will say though, I'm not a conference guy. I'm not a be happy for other teams guy. I love that the whole football world has come together on the Nico thing.
Yeah.
It's the only time where I will stand in line with a Tennessee fan and agree with everything they say, because it's all, I mean, I don't know if you've kept up with the news, even into today of the day we are recording. But Tulane has backed out now. Well, because
North Carolina wants no part of it.
Well, they're all trying to talk to him, and they're just end up talking to the father, and the father's trying to bidding war it and go back and forth. And they're like, no, this is what we can offer. And so supposedly the only teams who are saying they are interested, they're saying they would only be interested if the price tag's at about $1 million. He was making about 2.5 at Tennessee, 2.5 million. So, well, I mean, cutting it over half.
Yeah.
And going to be at a worse school for a not as good of exposure for the NFL draft, not as good of an offensive system, because Josh Heupel in Tennessee.
He's not going to get the TV games and primetime games.
I mean, this is one of the, and hopefully this is a lesson for other kids, that, you know, it's one thing to be in it for the bag, but then when you get the bag, you stick at the school, because when you leave just because $2.5 million isn't enough, it looks really bad, especially when your play on the field doesn't show, you know, it's not like he was playing great and it's like, well, Carson Beck is making this much. Well, you haven't had a year even close to a Carson Beck year.
Right. Well, and this can also be a very good opportunity. And this can be a conversation for a deeper conversation for another day, but the NCAA or the powers that be, whoever are making these decisions, whether it's conferences, whether it's schools, programs, whatever, there's got to be some rules being put in place. Right now, it's just the wild, wild west of the highest bid wins. And so what the idea that I've heard that I really like, it's not my idea, I'm not taking credit for it. Freshman year, you get X amount of dollars as a cap. Your sophomore year, that cap goes up of how much you can make. If you transfer, you go back to your freshman salary, even though you are considered a junior or a senior, whatever that is. If you transfer, you drop back down to that maximum cap that you can make at the NIL level as a freshman. So if you stay with your school, you can keep increasing that cap and increasing your value and increasing your profit of what you make on a NIL deal through your senior year. And it would kind of incentivize players to stay longer and stay with the team that they're currently with. But if you transfer your junior year to a senior year, you drop back down to that freshman level.
Yeah, I would like something like that. And again, we can do this over the summer. We could probably have a whole week of episodes about this, but the most simple thing to do is just simply contracts that are 2 years at a time, or whatever it is, and have contracts.
Does that introduce trading, and does that introduce other sorts of things?
I do like the idea I've heard of, if you're, especially in basketball, if you're a bigger school poaching from a, you know, non-power conference school, you have to pay a buyout to the school.
I like that.
To get the player. I do like that.
Yeah.
Because then that gives the smaller schools some more buying power, you know, some more NIL power.
Player that they just lost.
Yeah, exactly. And so I wouldn't mind something like that, especially in basketball. I think NIL's affected basketball in a more negative way than it has football. But yeah, something's got to change, because right now it's the wild, wild west, and it's bad for the players too, because you're going to have these situations and what doesn't get televised is all the players who are making these decisions that aren't making what a Nico makes for a year, transfer because they think they can get a bag somewhere else. They don't. Then they end up either at a smaller school or no school. And that happens a lot, because the amount of people who enter the transfer portal, those same amount of kids do not end up back at a school.
Yeah. Texas baseball just went final 11-4. Not that it was any surprise, but yes, 11-4 is your final. Jake, speaking of transfers, Jaden Ott has entered his name into the transfer portal. OU seems to be the early favorite. We'll see later on today if Jaden Ott has already committed to Oklahoma by the time this episode releases, or if he is leaning heavily towards Oklahoma. But Jaden Ott, probably the number one running back that will be available in this cycle of the transfer portal, looking to go to the dreaded rivals of the Sooners. There's also Miami freshman safety Zaquan Patterson. He's entered the portal, as well as Miami redshirt sophomore defensive tackle Josh Horton. I know those are a couple positions.
He has signed with the Sooners.
Oh, Josh Horton did sign?
No, Jade Knott.
Oh, Jade Knott has officially.
Sorry, I was looking it up 3 hours ago, or a couple hours ago from when he has committed. That's a big get for OU.
That's a big get for OU. That is a huge talent acquisition from Oklahoma that has otherwise struggled in recruiting in the transfer portal in previous years. But going from Cal to Oklahoma, that's a big upgrade for Jaden Ott. The only thing with Jaden Ott, he's been a little injury prone. Can he stay on the field? That'll be the big thing for the Sooners. But that is a big, big get for the Sooners as they look to try to undo what was already done last season in terms of their dreadful season. They ended the year beating Alabama, and who else did they beat?
They lost to Navy in their bowl game. That's what I do now.
Oh no, I'm thinking of
you beat Alabama.
I'm thinking Michigan. I'm thinking Michigan, who beat Ohio State and Alabama in their last two games.
OU did beat Alabama.
OU did beat Alabama,
the field.
But yes, that is true.
But they did lose to Navy.
They lost to Navy in the bowl game.
They beat the Alabama team that they thought Texas beat the year before. They beat the worst Alabama team in over a decade and stormed a field over it.
Yeah.
Texas beat an actual really good Alabama team in Alabama.
They beat an Alabama team that didn't make a 12-team playoff, whereas Texas beat an Alabama team that made a 4-team playoff. So there's a little bit of a difference there. We're not the same.
It was sorry. I just can't I can't help but laugh. I just remember when OU beat, all their fans were pumping their chest, and it's like y'all were talking crap on Texas for winning at Alabama last year when they were one of the 4 best teams in the country. What are we doing here? Yeah.
So, but Jake, any of the other names that have maybe kind of have come out, maybe one that I didn't list, anybody that you're kind of keeping an eye on, the defensive tackle for Miami, I'm interested if Texas has any interest in there. I would still like to build the defensive line, especially the interior of the defensive line. I don't think Texas is completely satisfied. I could see them adding somebody in this cycle. The Miami freshman, but those are some of the bigger names that I've heard, and some of the top guys at their positions who have entered the portal and have yet to find a home.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Horton, the defensive tackle, he definitely interests me. It's also kind of a wait and see mode right now, though, just because the portal is about. I mean, we don't know who all is going to enter the portal as of time of recording. Obviously, the portal is opening up on Wednesday. Today, when the podcast drops, and the portal is going to open, and then you're going to start to see names flood in.
Jaden Ott, if it's not open, how can he put his name in the portal and then just sign?
They either had lost their coach or he was already entered in the fall. He had to have done it
just hadn't made a decision yet, or because I'm pretty sure he entered the portal like 24 hours ago.
If they had a coaching change, you have a pretty large window to enter. And Cal may or may not have made a coaching change. But if not, I mean, the portal doesn't open until Wednesday. So to enter something, there had to have been one of the rules that he qualified to enter through.
Okay.
And so, but yeah, that's a big get for OU. But yeah, I think Texas, I won't say I think that they are going to add at least one defensive tackle, if not 2. I don't really have a doubt about that. And they're going to that's going to be their primary focus. That's probably what they're going to spend the most NIL on, if you will, is on a D tackle.
You know, last year the spring portal was kind of I don't want to say a flop. There just wasn't as much transactions happening as maybe we thought there was possibly going to be in year 1 or 2 of the spring portal being open. Now this year, I'll be curious if teams are. I think at the springtime though, teams are kind of like, look, we have to, unless we have a glaring need after spring practices, we need to get the guys that we already have up to speed on our system and everything. So I just don't think the spring portal is ever going to reach a point to where there's just a ton of movement. around the country in terms of big time players leave. And there might be a couple of the leftovers that, again, like you said, there's a coaching change or something along those lines. And they want a different scene. And I just don't think the spring portal is where coaches and programs are looking to start rebuilding. It's a little late for that.
Yeah, it is kind of a weird portal time just because whoever comes in is basically gonna, I mean, obviously not necessarily physicality wise and body wise, but when it comes to the playbook and everything, you're basically like a freshman who didn't early enroll coming in. And so that, I mean, I think you're always going to have one or two decent sized names that happen around this time. But it's not going to be anything like the fall portal when the season ends. But
that, and there's spring games, spring practices, whatever, already happening. So I mean, you're already behind the 8 ball big time. And so yeah, I just don't think that the spring portal is going to bring a whole lot of headlines. I guess there's not going to be a lot of news coming out of it, but I do expect Texas to add 1, 2, maybe 3 pieces, within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think they'll add 1 to 2 defensive tackles, and then probably maybe 1 offensive line depth piece that's experienced, and then maybe another wide receiver, maybe a safety or corner.
I'd be interested to see what the tight end looks like.
Sorry, that is they will definitely add a tight end. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm curious what the tight end. I don't know a lot about the portal tight ends that are currently in or that are going to be going in, but I'm curious if Texas is interested in any of them that they probably already have their eyes on a little bit. Jake, let's go ahead, start wrapping up the show a little bit. Just some fun news. Colorado. Let's talk about Colorado. They're always good for a good headline grab. Retiring Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter's numbers. One of those players I can understand. Won the Heisman, one of the more polarizing college football players that we've seen in the last, I don't know, maybe ever. Who knows? But Shedeur, Jake, that's one of the most privileged people on the face of the earth, having be the son of Deion Sanders, not only Hall of Fame Deion Sanders, but your head coach, Deion Sanders, who took you to Jackson State, had you transfer to Colorado as well. Who's more privileged, Jake? Shedeur Sanders or Bronny James?
Oh, I mean, if Deion takes an NFL job and force someone to draft his son, and then but the thing is, Shedeur's a better player equivalently than Bronny. Bronny's actually getting to play in the NBA while being probably the worst player in the NBA, which is that is the ultimate level. I mean, I think he's getting a start in their last game too, which is
he's starting. He's getting his first career start and
starting with like his like 29% field goal percentage or something like that. Yeah. That's the worst in the NBA. That's a different level even than this, because at least Shedeur was objectively a good player. But the idea that they're retiring his number not even a year after he's done playing, which I think it's too early to even retire Travis Hunter. Let it breathe a little.
Yeah.
But I get retiring Travis Hunter's number. I think that makes sense I would do it later, but I do understand that one makes sense to me retiring it. Cordell Stewart's number is not retired, and you're retiring Shedeur Sanders. If that's not the ultimate, this is a nepo privilege jersey retirement, then I don't know what is.
Yeah. I mean, the guy is sucking on a golden pacifier from daddy's tit. That's all I can say. I mean, that's just what it is, I mean, he is just what about Shiloh? They're not going to retire Shiloh's number?
I guess he just wasn't quite good enough to even let the Nepo card work.
Yeah, maybe what about Deion Jr.? Deion Jr.'s not getting his number retired either.
Why? Maybe in a few years they'll sneak it in.
Yeah. But again, I'm with you, Jay. I don't think Texas retired number 10 for Vince Young until at least, I don't know, what was it? It felt like 10 years after he was even done.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes' number just got retired at Texas Tech a year or two ago. You typically let them play their NFL career out a little bit.
And I'm not, look, I'm not an advocate of this actually happening. We just don't know what's going to happen in the NFL once these guys. I mean, he's grown up with money. You'd think that he would probably have gotten in some sort of trouble at some point with the money that he does have. But when these guys are free out into the NFL, sometimes things happen in their career where you don't know what kind of personal perception they're going to have 5, 6, 7 years down the road in terms of just who they are as a human being. Like, who knows what kind of trouble he could possibly get into or anything like that. And you're going to have his number retired, because having your number retired is not just like, oh, I'm a really good football player. It's kind of the whole package deal.
Yeah. It
doesn't even have his number retired at Florida.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense from any logistical point of view. Them doing this quickly and then sneaking the Shedeur Sanders retirement in is just wild. You're retiring 2 players' jerseys who didn't win anything.
I think they were 13.
Travis Hunter won a Heisman. That counts for something.
That does count for something. But
I think you're retiring two players from one team of teams that went 4-8 one year, and then they won 8-9 games last year.
I think they're the 13-10 overall at Colorado. 13-10 is their overall record together at Colorado.
Yeah, that's wild. And I know it wasn't all, the offensive line was horrible. There's more that goes into it, but again, I have no problem with retiring Travis Hunter other than it's just way too early, and it's kind of a joke of how early it is. But the retiring Shedeur's number is.
I wonder what old Joel Klatt has to say about that. I'm curious. I need to listen to his podcast, and because he's been the Colorado homer. Obviously, he played there, but I'm curious to see what.
If you're trying to talk through the Travis Hunter is very easily defendable. If you're trying to defend the Shedeur one, I think you're just wrong. I don't think there is an argument for it.
No,
other than of who his dad is and he's the head coach.
Yeah, it's because of who daddy is. One last thing, Jake, just wanted to make a quick shout out with Texas baseball being ranked number 1 going into this week. Texas has now had 9 athletic programs and 1 athletic calendar be ranked at number 1 at some point in the year. That is the most in the country. Second most, I don't know. I couldn't find the stat anywhere. I'm sure it is head and shoulders above just about everybody else, though.
Yeah, without
without a doubt. I mean,
yes, that is my response.
I'm sure second place is like 3 or 4, maybe.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, just wanted to kind of throw that in there as a final goodbye. But yeah, again. Good Friday. Nothing's going to kind of stop our schedule. We're just going to have a regular scheduled program Monday through Friday. These episodes dropping at noon each and every day. We will see you back next week as well, Monday through Friday. That's not changing just for the Easter weekend. However, Texas baseball, Texas softball is adjusting their schedule. All of college baseball and softball adjusting their schedules to Thursday through Saturday series and giving the players and coaches off on Sunday for Easter Sunday. So with all that being said, I'm Tanner Carlson. That is Jake Jimerson. This has been your daily fix for all things Texas Longhorns right here on All In Horns. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, hook 'em.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.